Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Have You Ever Played podcast, the only podcast that simps for Deckard Cain. I am Matt, aka Matt Fondude, and I'm with my co host.
Yes, I'm James, aka James 04E.
And this week, we're going to get right into it. This is the Diablo forecast. We're going to be talking about Diablo 4, a game I didn't think I was
Oh
going to
boy.
buy, and then I realized literally everyone I knew was buying it, and it's a multiplayer type beat, so you kind of want to get in on that, you know?
Yep.
So James, you're substantially further into the game than I am. I've been a casual
Yes.
enjoyer. So we'll have kind of two perspectives in terms of, from a very casual standpoint and someone who's, spending more time.
hmm
But I guess let's just open it up with what are your initial impressions of Diablo 4?
Initially I think it's pretty good. I think that my experience so far has been pretty fun. And considering I've been leveling on Whirlwind Barbarian, that's saying something that usually really sucks. Um, but I do have a bit of a concern about the sort of longevity of the game because I think that some of the builds are a little weak. And I think that the build variety is kind of lacking right now, and not even just in a you can like do this but you won't be like super efficient, but like literally you will like die on like lots of content if you're doing a different build because they really nerfed some of the builds, especially from the beta.
Yeah, I am playing currently a necromancer right now. One of my favorite archetypes from Diablo in ARPGs. I'm either the spin to win guy or the necromancer summons guy.
hmm
And I think I can relate to what you just said there because I've already been reading up a little bit, and apparently, like pure summons builds are like absolute garbage toward late
Yeah.
game. Which I mean, fair enough. Summoner is usually kind of bad,
hmm
like pure summoning, because I mean, you really don't do much at a certain point, uh, as summoner in games, I guess. So I could see that, but it is a little sad that I'm working toward an end game of misery. You know?
Yeah. I think what's also a little sad to me for some of the things is lots of the builds that aren't viable are like the cool new things. Like like for barbarian, all the cool new abilities like the chains, the upheaval, the kick and like charge. Some of them aren't new, but like stuff that wasn't so prominent before. It it's still just not really an option. Like why would I take kick when I can just whirlwind people down? Why would I take a chain that makes me pull three characters and do a little bit of damage when like I can just whirlwind them down?
Yeah, and I think we're gonna bounce around a bit with our experiences with the game, but I do think you're touching on something that I'm also a little concerned about.
hmm
I think this game's one of the game's greatest strengths is kind of its accessibility, and I think for newcomers, you could easily dive into this game. I think it's never been more accessible. It's very easy to just play the game, and you don't
hmm
really have to worry about things like skill refunds. And I feel like I can experiment with a build and not feel too bad about it.
Yeah.
That being said, like you said, you can make a bad character build and just not be able to play, but at least you can respec in the game, and it seems to
Yeah.
be kind of a minimal punishment for that.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, as I was saying before, especially with the necromancer thing, that I was noticing is like you have all these cool options with like different kinds of skeletons. Like I think including the subsections, there's like 9 of them, and they're all just bad. And
yeah.
it's
It,
like
it
yeah,
seems like there is a select. I'm following a build loosely,
hmm
as I play the game, just to kind of get an idea of what there is to do, and it seems as though there is a clear winner in each category for the most part. It's like I'm using like a heart, like a scythe skeleton, which their ability is it generates corpses without having to get kills. And
hmm
as someone who's played Necromancer in like Diablo 2 and other games, yeah, it kind of sucked when your whole crew would get wiped and you couldn't resummon them on like bigger boss fights that didn't really have ads as much.
hmm
So that just seems like a really good choice, but then again, like I don't know why I would necessarily choose the other. like there's like a defensive skeleton class. It's like I don't know. Maybe there's a crazy build that uses them, but it just seems like I why would I care? But again, the way they streamlined choosing your minions is it's so accessible. Like it's very straightforward.
Mhm.
I have one button that summons all skeletons. I don't have to like have 500 buttons. And I believe a lot of that is due to the fact that they really focused on making this game controller accessible, especially with Diablo 3 was controller accessible, but I think this
Mhm.
game is like I'm playing primarily with a controller, which is weird for this kind of a game, but I'm exclusively using a controller to get ready to play on my Steam Deck,
Mhm.
which I had to jump through a few hoops to get it to work on the Steam Deck, and it runs at 40 and you're 40 frames a second. It's actually pretty nice, but it makes your Steam Deck sound like it's going to blow up because it is like high load of CPU and GPU.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
this accessibility, again, I think it's rated strength and maybe it'll be a weakness later on. I don't know what you think about that.
I think that it should mostly be a strength. I don't see I can't really think of any downsides to it right now, at least. Um, yeah, but I've also, since I'm a bit farther in the game, I've also been playing a little bit more of the story, and it's okay. I think it's a little too dialogue heavy at times. The characters kind of ramble on, and I understand it is that kind of game, but also lots of it just kind of doesn't matter. To be 100% honest.
You see, as someone I've always skipped dialogue in
Hmm.
Diablo games specifically because usually it doesn't matter and you're going to be replaying the content so many times that you'll get the gist of it. I'm
Yeah.
really trying to follow the story in this game,
Hmm.
but here's kind of the problem, and we can start with our kind of initial experiences with the launch of the game. Uh,
Hmm.
but when you play in a group of friends and you have some people who don't want to listen to the story at all, and then you have some people who are a little bit ahead of you or some people who are behind you, you kind of feel like a jerk sitting there watching like a couple minute long cutscene while your friends are like, twiddling their thumbs. So you do almost feel pressured into skipping the story regardless. Even though I tried to listen to it, I feel bad
Hmm.
for making my friends, sit through stuff they've already seen.
Yeah, I mean, when that happens, I just pull up Reddit, pull up the
Yeah,
old Diablo Reddit, and see what silly stuff people are saying.
I think the issue is not the dialogue. Maybe it's because there are literally full on cutscenes that like stop the gameplay, and they're not just like sometimes the characters will talk while you're doing stuff, but sometimes you'll just be sitting there and a 5 minute cutscene will play, and
Yeah.
you can skip it, but it's a little bit of an issue. But I don't know how they would really solve that.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me as far as the dialogue has gone is the not the cutscenes, but like the like conversations with some characters, because they will go on sometimes, and I don't like skipping the conversations because like back in the beta, I remember I skipped something very early in the game, and then when I was at the end of it, I'm like, wait, I got kidnapped. This guy came up and saved me. It was totally badass, and I woke up and these guys are like trying to feed me blood and shit like that. And it's like, what the hell? This is I missed so much. I can't skip another cutscene now.
Yeah, like the story does seem
Yep.
so. Yeah, I feel like the story is actually pretty interesting in terms of like I'm engaged by it more so than just okay. I'm immediately gonna skip through this. Like I want to give it a
Hmm.
chance. But again, I don't know if you're really playing Diablo for the story, so I
Yeah.
think it's passable either way.
I think the
I
overarching story is good.
mm.
I think like the again, just some of the details, like the narration when they're narrating like the monologue stuff are fantastic. When the characters are going back and forth, that's when it gets a little rough at times, especially when it's like characters you maybe don't care about as much yet. Sometimes it feels like they're trying a little hard to get you to like sympathize with them.
Yeah, it feels to me, and I mean, I didn't really play a lot of Diablo 3. I had that game at launch, and that game had a notoriously bad launch.
Hmm.
And so I don't really know about the more modern Diablo games, but are there like was there a lot of characters in that game that were trying to be like these like named characters that have their own full little like storylines and actually seem like, they're trying to make them something. I distinctly, at least from my experience with Diablo 2, there are characters and stuff like that, but I really was just like hitting my face against mobs and not really paying attention at all to anything that was going on. It's like I would be in the
Yeah,
desert at one point and be like, "That's cool." Um, so yeah, story again, not really a huge priority for me in
yeah.
these kind of games.
I think a big thing is like the characters don't very frequently do things that are memorable, and lots of them also aren't funny. There is one very funny character actually, you'll meet later, and there's also some Deckard Cain references, which I think you'll enjoy. But but yeah, there is one really funny character, but outside of that, there isn't too much. At least in the main story, I've done some side quests to get my renown up, but I haven't done like all of them or anything like that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we should probably talk a little bit about the launch itself and how
Hmm.
uneventful it was. At least I didn't really notice any issues at all, which is surprising.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything either. The only time I had any sort of server issues was actually today because they were doing maintenance and they were like, "Yeah, the servers aren't going down, but you're gonna have some occasional outages." And I had like one outage, but like it's pretty good, especially compared to normal Blizzard or even Valve maintenance where it's like down for a bit. There was essentially
Yeah,
no downtime.
yeah. I'm assuming the betas and all of that content, all of the preview events really
Hmm.
helped with the server load in some way, or they really tried to make sure that I don't think you could be the company that releases Diablo 3 and then release Diablo 4 and have it also have a terrible launch where no one can play the game. I think they really like very much focused on making it as smooth as they could
Hmm.
because, it would be pretty embarrassing, especially with the state of Blizzard right now and Overwatch 2 and
Yeah.
the fan reception to that game and how, you know, no one seems to be in favor of Blizzard too much anymore. They kind of needed a win.
Yeah, definitely. I think also the early access for people that pre-ordered the costlier versions and also them essentially launching the game a day early, I think helped a lot with the just amount of people signing on at the same time on launch. Like I guess for games that are similar to Diablo, I wouldn't mind seeing that sort of pre-order early access and things like that. Like obviously for games where everybody really really cares about the story or like multiplayer games, it won't quite work. But for like more farm heavy, not even just necessarily ARPGs, but I guess it's more RPGs. I can see them getting away with that.
It is kind of funny. This game is kind of like a soft MMO in a way, which
Yeah.
PoE Path of Exile is also, in the similar vein. And I believe Diablo
Hmm.
Diablo 3 had online elements, notably the real world cash store that they eventually
Oh
uh
god.
decided was a bad idea. But this game, I really I like the MMO feel and how there's things to do in like an overworld. There's kind of like these world events, and there's dungeons that seem to have permanent effects on. When you clear one of those dungeons, did that unlock it for every character on that account, or just that character?
Yes, so when you clear a dungeon, you'll get essentially a legendary upgrade in your Codex of Power, I think it was called. And how that works is you can basically either pick a rare or a legendary and you can imprint that upgrade onto it. So the rare will upgrade to a legendary and the legendary will basically change what its upgrade is. And so
Yeah,
I think
I am
it's
a fan
yeah, it was
of any
really
kind of that content.
yeah, I think it was especially really cool because I had this one thing in my codex that I really wanted for my build, and I just put it on a ring. I didn't even have to farm for it or anything like that. And obviously the codex doesn't have every single upgrade possible, I don't think. And also there are unique tier things that are even better than anything you could get out of your codex. So it's not like there's no farming to be done. But it's definitely really helpful for just getting your character off the ground.
It's also just a nice incentive to do these random side dungeons.
Yeah.
And I think again, this game has a lot of features like that where it feels like they're incentivizing some exploration. I don't know what the random generation is. I'm assuming everything is still just randomly it's procedurally generated but using different like sets of environments. I don't know. Are the main storyline areas procedurally generated?
I think the main storyline areas are always the same, but the dungeons and things like that are procedurally generated. I can confirm
Mhm.
that because I actually, when the servers did go out for like a minute, I was near the end of a dungeon and I redid it and it was like a same assets but different layout.
Now, I guess the overworld also always the same because they do have those hidden statues around.
I think the overworld is always the same. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, I would have to imagine because I didn't understand how they have these hidden statues which I believe are permanent upgrades. Are
Yeah,
those
the
just
little
for the character
statues.
or are those for account wide? I forget.
I think it's account wide.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that feature. I don't know if anything similar was in Diablo 3. Another game I can compare this to, from my frame of reference, is Lost Ark, which is an ARPG
Hmm.
MMO. And there seems to be a lot of things that are in Lost Ark that are in Diablo 4, like the dodge mechanic and the like finding those statues. There's like a Korok seed kind of mechanic in Lost Ark that is
Hmm.
like that too. So a lot of things I enjoyed from that game seem to be making an appearance here. I'm wondering if they took inspiration at all from that. I'm assuming they also took inspiration from Path of Exile, a contemporary to Diablo,
Yeah.
which has a huge fan base.
Yep. The classic. Why would I pay $70 for Diablo when I can just play Path of Exile?
Yeah, I do notice a lot of fans comparing Path of or being a little disappointed at the new Diablo. I think these are the more hardcore fans. I think this
Hmm.
game is kind of almost designed again for newer players, maybe, and maybe people who aren't as in depth because there are if you look out in Path of Exile or the game Grim Dawn, which is another ARPG, um their skill trees are very like the Path of Exile skill tree is massive. It's every character interweaved into one skill tree, so you can make crazy build diversity.
Hmm.
And Diablo, obviously, Diablo 4 does not have that same kind of build diversity whatsoever. Which, honestly, to someone who is frightened by the massive Path of Exile skill tree, I kind of appreciate it in a way that it's a little more simple, but I can understand why people who have played through these games so many times would want to have that flexibility, especially people who love making builds.
Uh, yeah. I personally don't really find it to be that necessary because. So I think that if the game is balanced properly with all of the skills and options, people will have more than enough to work with if they want to like redo their builds. And I think that at a certain point, people do need to ask whether they're just looking to play a different character because while the Paths of Exile skill tree is huge and has lots of options, there are very clear like paths that go with a specific play style.
That is true. I think there is a lot of fluff in Path of Exile in terms of like, oh, look at this node gives you plus one HP point, and this node gives you
Yeah.
this and such. And then there's those milestone, really game changing perks that really change a build. So I could see
Hmm.
that. I do think it made the game a lot more limited in terms of build variety of your classes. But again, this game just came out. I'm sure it's going to get some form of support and DLC, maybe an
Yeah.
expansion that will wildly increase the game.
Hmm. Yeah, and I also think that compared to Path of Exile, leveling up in Diablo does feel, or Diablo in Diablo 4 specifically, does feel a little bit more impactful because there aren't really that many filler like skill points. Like there are passives in the tree, of course, but those are mostly for after you've already gotten everything you want in your build and you just want to be doing things a little bit better. and even then, there's some pretty impactful ones in there. So I don't necessarily think it's underwhelming for the most part.
Yeah, I really enjoy the split in terms of a lot of abilities seem to have a core ability, and then you can upgrade a split variation of that ability to try to
Hmm.
kind of make your build a little more tailored to your playstyle.
Yeah.
I'm finding that to be kind of interesting. Again, I could see why people who are used to having these crazy build options would find it kind of lackluster. But as
Hmm.
someone who does not play a lot of these games often, I'm having a good time just going on and, having fun, which I think is a good quality for a game to have,
Yeah.
actually being fun. But again, it is a very safe game. They don't seem to have really shook up the formula at all that much, to be honest. But it's safe and good, and um, I don't know how long the length of the game is. I mean, it's kind of subjective anyway because you can replay it and there's options for that.
Yeah.
But it feels like the game, again, pricing, we should probably talk about that a little bit. It's a $70 game at the lowest tier of
Yeah.
payment. It's a $70 game with a cash shop, which is like, okay, I mean, cosmetics, not great, but I get it. Modern gaming, games as a service. But yeah, $70. Is it worth $70? I guess, James, you want to take the floor on that?
I think one day it could be worth $70. I think currently it's probably still a $60 game. And I also think there's a big debate of whether any game is truly worth $70. I mean, like the worth of a game is so variable that like for most people I think the average that it would come out to is definitely left less than 70.
Hmm. I kind of derive my formula for worth of a game almost like by hour. If I'm gonna put like 1 hour is like equals $1, which is not
Mhm.
necessarily the case for some games. Some experiences are very short and worth it. But a game like this is meant to be replayable and have a lot of staying power. So if I
Mhm.
can get 60 hours or 70 hours of enjoyment out of this game, then it will be worth it to me,
Mhm.
I guess. But like you said, yeah, I know eventually the game will probably be a lot better, especially after like an expansion or something like that. When the base game goes free to play and they add an expansion and a battle pass. Is there a battle pass in the game right now, by the way? I think someone said
Um
something
so the
about
battle
that.
pass is coming out with season 1, but technically we're in season 0 right now.
Mhm. That I feel as though any game with a battle pass, it's eventually going to go free to play. We'll get some sort of hat for buying the game early, and we'll be like, why did we pay $70 for a game that's free with a battle pass? Which is
Dang.
a little scummy, but whatever. I don't know. Games these days need to be an infinity money treadmill
Yeah.
as
Well,
they get bigger.
I think I understand the idea. It's because you need to be able to support continued development on the game because like I know for Diablo 3, right? Like they weren't getting as like more income from the game really, so they just kind of stopped working on it at a certain point. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I
as long
think
as the
that if
content.
yeah, I think
Go
that if the
ahead.
content was more ex- I don't know what their plans are for expansion, so it's kind of hard to say. But as far as seasons and stuff like that, assuming that they plan on having them be regular, like more like other live service games, I can see why they would feel the need to include stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense from a getting money perspective as a business. I'm assuming all of the cash shop items are cosmetic, which is
Yeah.
fine. I also a Diablo for me is not a game that I care at all what my character looks like. I'm gonna be like Scrimbly Blimblow and run around wearing like no shirt like an idiot in the snow. Like I don't care what my character looks like. So I mean, for the people who do care, yeah, they can spend the money. It's like $25 for horse armor or whatever. Um, these mounts that just cost honestly, I think I have a problem with Blizzard in general, their skin pricing. I don't know how much they
Hmm.
compare to other games, but I have experience with Overwatch 2 and then now in Diablo. Like Overwatch 2 has an issue where like skins are like $25 or more, and it's like
Hmm.
I that's kind of crazy pricing for what you
Yeah,
get in these games. So, but you don't have to buy it, you know. It's because consumers are gonna buy it. So someone's out here buying these skins, and I was one of those people with the One Punch Man skin, so I can't complain too much.
man. Yeah, they really got you with the One Punch Man skins.
Yeah, even honestly, they don't look that great. And I also came to find out later that most of those skins are actually reskins of other skins with some additional things, which is you whatever. Um, but
Damn.
yeah, I don't know. So Diablo 4, I think the verdict is right now, at least in terms of how I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna keep playing it and I'm having fun. If you like Diablo, it's fun. I don't think there's anything horrible about it or like game breaking.
Hmm.
I think it's just a fun time. It's just like a turn off your brain kind of game.
Yep, it's a big thumbs up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One thing to talk about, their marketing has been really good. Apparently, they had a tweet where it was like Megan Fox was saying like, if you submit a clip of you dying, I might. Yeah, there's a chance that I'll commentate it or something like that. So they got all the they got a lot of people doing that. Apparently, they did a collaboration with KFC.
Oh, that's good. Is it like a skin? Did they make Diablo real?
Um, I'm looking at it right now.
Did they make a spicy variant of a sauce or chicken to
So it
coincide with
looks like you
Diablo?
get a weapon. Wait, what? Unlock reward, these are $5 required to secure. Oh, it's like a weapon skin. I see.
What
Oh
is
my
it, like a
god,
bucket of
it's
chicken or something?
I don't know. There's not like there's not pictures, but it's apparently each class just gets a weapon skin. Let
Perfect.
me
I
look
mean,
this up.
it sounds like great marketing since you don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, sheesh.
Oh
Let's
man.
see.
Well, yeah. A game this big also doesn't really need to market itself that much. It's like if you're gonna play it, you're gonna play it. You kind of know at this point.
Wait,
Um,
these cosmetics are actually pretty funny. There's a there's a scythe called the Foul Reaper.
the Fowl Reaper.
Yeah,
Oh, fowl as in the
yeah,
bird
yeah. I
type.
like it. Check it. There's the Dread Pheasant Slayer. Oh, Vessel of the 11 series. I have no idea what that has to do with KFC. Thrumling
Vessel. Oh,
Axle.
11 herbs and spices.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Thrumling Axle series and Hand of Gallus.
Gallus. Huh.
Yeah, I don't really get that one, but yeah.
How does one get these skin? Do I have to buy some delicious KFC?
Yes, it seems like so. It says if you pick up a qualifying purchase on the KFC website or through the app, in stores doesn't count. You'll unlock a
Oh.
reward. There's a minimum of spend of around $5 to secure these cosmetics, and reportedly the easiest way to secure them is to buy a classic chicken sandwich.
All right, James. Hear me out. KFC. Let's go to KFC this weekend. We're gonna order. I just kind of want to get KFC because KFC kind of hits different sometimes, even though it's kind of bad.
Sometimes, yeah, yeah. My recent experiences with KFC haven't been good.
No, I know. Like it's honestly, it can slap, but it can be so bad. Like it can be the worst. I think of all fast food consistency wise, it could either be like heaven or hell. You know, you're either getting like the best fast food. It's also like $40 because it's just chicken. You know, it's crazy expensive,
Hmm.
but it'll be worth it for those weapon skins. But yeah, so good marketing. I think the greatest endorsement I could have for this game is the fact that I'm thinking about, oh, I want to go play it as soon as this podcast ends, you know.
Hmm.
So I think that's a good endorsement. It's fun.
Yes.
Go if you too a little too expensive, but that's all games now. Wait for it to go on sale if you're on the fence, but if you want to play a game, if you want that itch, give it a shot. It's pretty fun.
Good fun game.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that is our Diablo discussion down for now.
Yes.
James, have you been playing anything else this week? Have you been doing anything else besides Diablo?
Not much new. I mean, did I? Oh wait, actually, did I talk about Friends versus Friends yet? I can't remember.
I don't think no, you didn't, but didn't you
Okay.
send something? I saw someone sent something, a picture. No, someone in my Discord sent something about that on their Twitter post. Is that what you're
I
going to be
see.
talking about?
Um, Not specifically a Twitter post, but like, yeah, it's a game I've been playing. It's basically 1v1 or 2v2. It's an FPS. There's cards that just have wacky abilities, and yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
It's just fun to play with friends.
So, there's a game called Rounds. I don't know if it's similar. It's a
Hmm.
roguelike 1v1 card shooter, but it's like a side scroller.
Yeah.
It sounds vaguely similar. That looks cool. I'm looking at it right now. It's like Borderlands-esque looking.
Hmm.
And by that I mean it's cel shaded.
Yeah. Borderlands
Well,
invented cell shading.
yeah, literally like everything. I've been playing Bendy in the Dark Robot or Bendy in the Ink Machine, the first game. That game cel shaded, and I'm like, oh yeah, Borderlands.
Hmm.
Um, so what is that game? Does that have online multi? I'm looking at the page. It does have
Yeah.
online multiplayer.
Yeah. It's 1v1 or 2v2. The net code is really bad, like horrendous.
Oh,
So I would not
so it's a
recommend playing
Unity
with.
game.
Yeah, I would not recommend playing with anybody who doesn't have a stable connection. So
Oof.
probably only do private matches.
Yeah. Yikes. All I knew about this game, by the way, I didn't actually know anything about it. Someone in my Discord, the Mad Fun Dude Discord, join now, posted a tweet the developers made. I think. Let me fact check this live on stream real quick, just to make sure it was the developers. Um, where did they even send this? My degenerates from my thing. Oh yeah, here we go. F. I think this is the developers, but they tweet it. Hey, Friends vs. Friends came out a week ago, and the reception has been incredible. We didn't expect it. We also wanted to say that if you can't afford the game, we have our open. We have opened. Wait, what? We have
It's a
open
typo.
our DMs.
Their DMs are
Also,
open.
yeah, their DMs are open now. I don't know how to take that. I don't know if this is like they put a heart too. I don't know if that's like a yo, bro, like we got you. If you can't afford it, we'll hook you up.
Yeah, I think they're saying they'll gift you the game.
Or this is like, bro, like we're gonna like come at us. Like you can't afford $10 at us. Like our DMs are open. Fight me.
Or it
Or
could be like
it's
a like you're broke, we're gonna break your kneecaps kind of thing.
yeah. Or I'm getting kind of like a, hey, maybe you can't afford the game. Maybe there's another way you could pay. You know, our DMs are open. So it's like it's giving chaotic and like sinister energy. Regardless, I don't
Chaotic
know.
and sinister energy.
I don't know what to make of it. I'm getting very sinister energy from it, but yeah, I think I mean a $10 cooperative or a PvP based little like game for your friends is always a good time.
Yep. You can
Um,
fight your friends
let's
and
see.
throw
I
bombs at
mean,
them.
my week wise, I purchased We Love Katamari. I have not played it yet. It is the remake, We Love Katamari Reroll. It is the remake of the second Katamari game, which is apparently widely considered to be the best Katamari game. The
Ooh.
game originally came out on PS2, and the first Katamari game is fantastic, and I'm very excited to play this one. Apparently, so the first remake was 30 FPS locked and kind of a weird stinky port. It's still a
Hmm.
great game, kind of stinky. We love Katamari. I believe is unlocked 60. Good port. They learn from their mistakes, and is great. So I'm
Hmm.
very excited to play it. I'm gonna be playing that on the Steam Deck. I'm waiting to travel to play that game. So I have that in the docket, and I've been getting a lot of games ready, prepped for traveling. I've been really messing around with the Steam Deck, trying to get Epic Games and BattleNet games to work because I got Diablo 4 to
Hmm.
work on the Steam Deck. It is pretty janky. There's a lot of different ways of getting third-party launchers to work on Steam Deck, but they're all pretty janky and Just makes me sad that the only reason I need Epic Games is to get Kingdom Hearts, which is not on Steam still. I'm sure it'll come to Steam one day, and I'll rebuy those games on Steam because I am a loser who doesn't even like those games. Um, it's just nostalgia hits different. But yeah, like it would be nice. It would be nice to just have easy things, but I don't know. Tinkering is fun too.
I heckin' love tinkering.
Yeah, we've talked about you haven't played the Kingdom Hearts games, right? Because you were an Xboxer or
Yes.
like not a PlayStationer,
Yeah. I mean,
basically.
I always knew of them, but no, I didn't really play them.
hmm I I tried to stream, so I have an ongoing critical mode, which is like the hardest difficulty uh stream of the second game, and I tried playing it on stream the other day after not playing that game for probably over a year, and I just had no idea what was going on. And again, I'm faced with the this is probably not a good game to stream because there's hour long cutscenes. Which like, do I talk over it? Do I make jokes? But half the time, it's like I kind of want to hear this, and it's not
Yeah.
not the best. Or it's me getting one shot by a giant face boss because I'm in like the hard difficulty. So I'm like, I can't even. I'm like either turbo focusing on not looking like a fool, or I'm in a cutscene. So I don't know.
Hmm.
It's not the move. Oh man. Um, I think. I mean, for games, yeah, I think that's pretty much what I've been playing. I played Hello Neighbor on stream, and that game. Do you remember seeing that? Do you know Hello Neighbor at all?
No, I do not.
Google a picture of it. You probably have seen the guy. Like it's a very like iconic indie game, like iconic looking indie game.
Hello, neighbor.
It's like there's like a guy in his like sweater thing.
Oh yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, that's what I was like before playing it. I had only seen it,
Hmm.
and I didn't really know what to expect. Yeah, that game is like a buggy trash fire of a mess. It's kind of fun. Like the funny thing is, apparently, the pre-alphas of that game were actually fun, and then the full release they just destroyed everything that was fun about the game and changed the art style and just did everything, and no one seems to like it really. Um, it is fun in a way because the physics are so buggy that you can glitch your way into anything and like fly around the map and just dumb
Hmm.
things happen and you can like the whole point is like it's like this open kind of concept puzzle game where you have a neighbor person who constantly tries to catch you, and if he catches you it like restarts the level pretty much. um Problem is it's just annoying overall to play. Like nothing is really that fun about it. The most fun you can have is like walking into trash cans and then having them send you into space, and it's funny because like the physics don't work.
Hmm.
But it's just like this game that I thought was like, from seeing trailers and seeing how popular it is, I thought it was supposed to be this really great experience, but it really is just not. Like if you tried to play the game seriously, you would just not really have any fun. It's just
Yeah.
kind of boring puzzles. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my mini review on that. I think we should probably head into the questions now, if you agree.
Sure. I'm down for
All
some
right.
questions.
Let me read the well, here we go. If you have a question you want to send us, or an anecdote or a story, or if you're the developers for Hello Neighbor and want to yell at me, please send your mail to hyep podcast@gmail.com. That is the hyep podcast@gmail.com. James, why don't you kick us off with one of these delicious curated questions?
Oh boy.
You could take your
Oh
pick
man.
from the list, and then I will find one to ask you.
All right,
I'm gonna like scope
I
this
really
out a
gotta
little
look
bit.
at these. Gotta get a good one.
Yeah, we both like didn't really. I vaguely looked at some of these questions. Uh
Oh, I've got a good
oh man,
one. Hi, podcast hosts. I'm curious if there are are any games from your childhood that you think had memorable boss battles.
memorable boss fights.
All right, I've got mine.
Yeah, take it
So
away.
this game only had one boss fight, and I remember it very distinctly because I actually think I screamed when it ended. So this game was Halo 3, and the Guilty Struck boss fight was one of the most disappointing experiences of my entire life. I th- I start fighting it, it just dies, and I'm like, "What was that?" This is like the only boss in the entire game. Or I guess
Oh
actually
man.
there was the Scarab boss fight. I can't say that, but it was like it was so hyped up, like it was so insanely built up, and I just shoot it a little bit, and it's just dead.
Yeah, I didn't even realize those games had. I guess they don't really have boss fights if that's how you
Halo does have
describe
a
it.
few. Halo 2 mostly had the like the good ones. I'll say the quote
See
unquote good
this.
ones because they're
Th-
FPS boss fights. They can't be that great.
this was our divide because again, as a PlayStation person, I just couldn't play Halo. So like, I
Hmm.
just if I didn't grow up with it, I just never never really got into those games at all.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that sounds. So you went with a disappointing but memorable boss fight.
yeah.
I was thinking like like hard or like frustrating. Um, I'm gonna go with two. I'll do a quick one first. Since we were talking about Kingdom Hearts 2, a classic boss fight. That game has a lot of actually really good boss fights, and back in the day, there were some unskippable cutscenes, and there's a notorious boss. There is I forget his actual name, but he's the Dance Water Dance Organization 13 member guy, and he has a boss fight where you have to kill a certain amount of enemies. There's like a timer, and if you don't kill them, the game ends, and you have to like watch a whole big cutscene. He says like "Dance, water, dance," and it's really
Man.
annoying. And again, it just was too hard for my child brain. Like I couldn't do it. Um, there was a lot of things like that, just roadblocks. Um, I think if I'm gonna go memorable though, like my brain went toward Dark Souls. I think the first like Asylum Demon boss fight is like iconic because it sets the tone for that entire game like franchise. As someone who never played Demon Souls at first, I played Dark Souls. That's my first game, and
Hmm.
you just get absolutely bodied by that boss at first, and you're like, "How is this possible?" Even once you get a weapon in that little tutorial area, it feels insurmountable to beat that boss. And I mean, honorable mention to Dark Souls 3, where it actually maybe is insurmountable to beat that starting game boss for some people. But
Hmm.
I think FromSoft first bosses are all pretty iconic.
Yeah, I think generally, yeah.
Yeah, like Bloodborne. Think of Bloodborne, like the
Oh yeah.
bosses in that game. Like Gascoigne or whatever, however you're supposed to actually say his
I
very
actually think
French name.
I actually think uh, technically I think you're supposed to do the cleric beast first, but
Oh,
for
you
some
are.
reason it's possible to skip it.
Yeah, you are, and I skipped it by accident, and I think a lot of people did that
Yeah.
and fought him first, and he is like, "Oh, this game isn't messing around. Like, you really gotta get good."
Yeah.
In Bloodborne,
I don't even remember the reason why you had to do the cleric beast. I just know you had to do it at a certain point.
it's like a bridge. There's a bridge that you can go on, and it's
Yeah.
supposed to be like a trap or whatever. It's like a substantially easier boss.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, just these like introduction bosses. I think those games. I mean, they're basically designed to fight bosses in. So
Hmm.
all right. I got a question for you, James.
Okay.
What are some games that you played when you were younger? I guess it doesn't have to be when you were younger, but what are some games you've played that have really unique power ups or items?
Really unique power ups or items.
Hmm. I kind of have one in mind if you want to think
Hmm.
about it.
Yeah, I got to think about it for a bit.
Um, Now, I immediately went toward. Well, actually, you know what? I'll talk about. My brain immediately went toward the Mario, New Super Mario for the DS, which doesn't really have unique power ups, but it has some of the most banger power ups in the Mario series. It's got I'll rank them in terms of like kind of whatever to like the best one. You got the
Hmm.
mini mushroom, which in itself it makes you small and floaty, but it like unlocks the potential for a bunch of secrets, and I always thought it was cool to get mini Mario. And then you have
Hmm.
the Mega Mushroom, which is basically a cutscene. You just become big and blow everything up. But I remember finding that to be awesome too, just like destroying everything. But the best power up, I think, in any Mario game, and most people can agree, the blue shell power up in that game, where you just gain a shell, which is already cool because now you're in a Koopa shell, but you can run and duck, and then you become like an active projectile, and it's just so fun. It is so fun to use and just run around being a projectile. You would always die like immediately because it's pretty dangerous to use, but it is one of the most satisfying power ups to use for sure.
Hmm. All right, I've got a bit of an atypical answer, I guess.
Hmm.
So in Gears of War 3, there was a mode called Beast Mode, and so Gears of War has always had Horde mode, where it's like you're fighting against a horde of like the aliens, and it's wave based. But in Beast Mode, instead, you're playing as the aliens, and so what would happen is each round or each wave, I think there were like it was capped at 12 waves, but each wave you would have like a buy phase where you could buy uh a different locust, which is the like the alien species. And so as you get more money, obviously you can buy better ones. And I remember the one that I enjoyed the most was the Berserker. And if you don't know about Gears of War, the whole idea of the Berserker is it's like really strong, brute force, but it literally cannot see. So so when you finally get the Berserker, you step in and you realize I am literally blind.
That's
So
pretty
it's
great.
so it's like your whole thing is you have all this power, but you can't see past like 2 feet in front of you.
Wow, that's a really interesting mechanic that I don't think a lot of games utilize. That idea of just you can't see, you're just like spray and pray. Although, I mean, it could be kind of BS in a way. There's something to be said about just like yeah. Imagine putting in a competitive based shooter nowadays. Just like yeah, this mechanic you can't see, but if you get lucky enough, you'll just kill everyone.
Yeah.
But it sounds fun but frustrating for
Yeah,
the.
the Berserker was only melee, I believe, and the whole thing is you could charge. So you
Mhm.
basically do this charge all the way across the room that you can't see, and you just pray you hit something and just run into a wall.
Oh man. Yeah,
Oh man.
that sounds like I don't know. That sounds fun and ridiculous, which I think a good power up should be in the games like that.
Yeah.
Um, all right. I think and I've already lost track of. Did you you asked that question? All right. Look, imagine going back and forth. It's too many
I
variables to keep
asked
track
one
of.
and then you asked that one.
Okay, I completely forgot.
Yeah.
It's too many. Two things is too many things to keep track of. So if you want to ask me
Yes.
another thing, hit me.
All right.
We'll delete these as we go from the docket so we don't ask them 15 times on the podcast because I already
Mm-hmm.
thought that was going to probably happen.
All right. Wait. Let me make sure I delete mine.
I deleted yours.
Okay. Sick. Let's see.
We're scrolling through our docket of
Yeah, we have
questions right now.
quite a few.
Quite a nice variety. Yeah, I took whatever questions we had and just kind of simplified it for us. Although now we're overwhelmed by choice.
Yeah. Okay, I got one. Hey, podcast hosts. What are some games that you played when you were younger that you think had really great writing or dialogue?
Oh, I wonder that's gonna skew because as a kid, I think your opinion of what's really great writing and dialogue may very much vary.
Yeah. So I think what's interesting about this one, I actually think it has to be something that I've replayed
Hmm.
because oh man, there were so many games I played that ended up having really bad dialogue when I went back and replayed them. Um, but yeah, I guess I can go first. I
Yeah, go
think
for it.
uh, to go back to Halo again, Halo 2 had actually fantastic dialogue. Like it was extremely good. And both dialogue and like the speeches and stuff and like just like literally almost every line was just like great. Like I need to look up like the Gravemind introduction from Halo 2.
Mhm.
Because he said something that was so fucking cool. Uh,
He's like, "John
like it was
Halo,
like somebody
it's
asked like
time
who
to
he was, and
Halo."
he said something about like I am the monument to all your sins or something like that.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, like I've got a list of quotes like this is not your grave, but you're welcome in it. This one is machine and nerve and has its mind concluded. This one, but flesh and faith, and is the more deluded. Oh my god, like literally every line that this character said was just banger, fantastic. And then he started talking more in Halo 3, and it got yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason he didn't make a physical appearance in Halo 3. I can already tell.
Um, I think for my I can't really think of like childhood games necessarily. I go toward like some well, you know what? I'll give an example. I think as a kid, the Sly Cooper games on PS2, that series, like 1 through 3, I don't
Hmm.
necessarily think it's the best written dialogue, but the relationships between the characters and the story of that game I really enjoyed as like it felt like you were playing like an animated show or like a movie. It's framed in a way too with like these interstitial cutscenes where it sets up the story and there's like a bunch of different things that happened and you're going after like a big bad in an area and then the big enemy of that area will like talk to you and stuff throughout the level and
Hmm.
you know some crazy things happen in that game like there are some main characters like the like all right vague spoilers but there is a main character in the cast who gets like permanently disabled in one of the games like
God.
and like gets horror and it causes an issue where a character who used to be a goofy funny guy who would fight people all the time gave up fighting and becomes a pacifist and it becomes like a huge issue for like the one of the games. Yeah, it's a he has to like fight the fact that he couldn't save his friend.
Good lord.
Um, yeah, and it's really tongue in cheek and stuff. But like honestly, it was pretty compelling for a little wee baby child. And I have played the first game again recently, and it really does hold up pretty well.
Oh
Um,
man. I can't take
yeah,
this seriously because I know the Sly Cooper characters are all like animals. I just
yeah,
imagine a frog losing its legs.
you're
So he
not
just eats
wrong.
the frog's legs. He's
You're
just like,
almost
oh no. He has like a
you're
whole midlife crisis.
you're not that far off, to be honest. No, those games are fun. I'm gonna give some quick shout outs to contemporary examples. Omori, fantastic game. Omori is so good. And the recent God of War 2018 that I played, sucked
Hmm.
me in and was like one of the most like engaging games I've played in a long time.
Yeah, the
The
dialogue
story
in
was
that game's fantastic.
awesome in that game. And shouts to Christopher Judge. He's still giving his speech at the Game
Oh
Awards.
no.
That video got blocked in all countries, by the way.
What?
Because it had footage of the Mario movie in it from their trailer. It got blocked in all countries. Our
Wow,
coverage of the Game Awards, which is very epic.
that's kind of insane.
Also, shouts to Persona series for great dialogue. Well, corny but like fun, engaging dialogue. All right,
Yep.
I got a question for you, buddy boy.
Okay.
Uh, I'm curious if there are any games, or it doesn't have to be from childhood. A lot of childhood based
Yeah, this is
questions.
very based on our childhoods.
All right, what games have you played that have a really unique control scheme or input method? I got a couple of them.
Ooh. Oh man, I don't actually play many of those.
It's just a game with weird control schemes.
Game with a weird control scheme. I tried playing Skullgirls once. It's like a fighting game, and there's
Yeah,
like 8 attack buttons, and they
yeah.
go in like the most bizarre places by default. Like you'll have like kick one on B and kick two on L2, and it's like what?
I love how you're
Why are they on
describing
opposite ends?
you're just describing fighting games on pad, and it's so funny to
Yeah,
me. And the
man.
game probably has like macros for like pressing combined buttons or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
I guess you're not wrong. Like all fighting games without like a fight stick do have kind of weird control schemes.
Well, the thing with with that one is it's specifically like from the beginning it's built to be a competitive fighting game from what I know.
Mhm.
So, I've played like Mortal Kombat, like the Dragon Ball Z fighting games, Injustice, stuff like that. And I was fine with those control schemes because most of them have like four attacks tops, and then you have like your block and like ultimate buttons and
You have a
things like that.
block button, yes, in those
Oh
games,
yes,
yep.
Injustice actually didn't have a block button. That really threw me off. Oh
Uh, the
man.
the concept of holding back to block, it took me a crazy amount of time to for some reason to just like wrap that in my head like to I don't know for someone
Right?
who I mean I play fighting games now, not as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I got my fight stick literally collecting dust in the background. um
Mm.
but yeah, I don't know, like it's weird, like a lot of mechanics from if it's your first fighting game ever, it's kind of hard to get into those because you have to do inputs and
Yeah.
holding black to block. Some games have parry mechanics and
Yeah. I'm
just frames.
I'm personally fine with holding back for block as long as you do something with the now unused button. Like I remember Injustice did like nothing with that button. I was really confused. But
Hmm.
apparently that's a very like Eastern like or like Japanese, I guess, thing, the holding back to block.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like a lot of, I think the only games I can really think of that have block buttons is kind of like those midway
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat games. They're a lot slower and more, impact, I guess. Whereas
Hmm.
Hyper Fighters and playing a game like Guilty Gear, even Guilty Gear Strive, which is like the newer one, which is more simplified. Like
Hmm.
learning Roman cancels and what different colored Roman cancels do and stuff is just like mechanics and mechanics on mechanics on mechanics.
Hmm.
Um, I think my games will be all like a lot of my I think a lot of my games experiences are like Sony based. So Um, Ape Escape comes to mind first of mechanic. That game is based fully. That series is fully based around weird mechanics. The first game came out on PS1. I believe it is one of the games that was either bundled or like it needed an analog controller.
Hmm.
So the PS1 by default doesn't have an analog controller, uh, but they sold an analog controller for it, and you move around with the left stick, and you use your net with the right stick, and use gadgets with the right stick. And that game has you like spin like a hula hoop with the right stick. You mimic that to run on things, and you have a slingshot. Like it really uses the thumbsticks in weird ways. Definitely a pretty good series. Very
Hmm.
weird control scheme. Um, Again, honorable mentions: Patapon, the rhythm game it's like a rhythm strategy ish thing, really good. And Katamari, which is also using both sticks to move around, so
Hmm.
good game. Do you want to do one more question? You think? Yeah, let's end it with one more
Sure.
question.
Let's see.
One more, take us home.
Um,
I'm scouring them too
Geez,
for
yeah, these are
for
they're all like
reference.
when you were younger, man.
Well, yeah, I basically fed the prompt, a similar prompt to that, and it just happened. You don't ignore that if you want. Yeah, when you were just born out the womb, what was your favorite Mario game that started with the letter M?
Man. Okay. Hey, podcast hosts. What are some games that you played when you were younger that you think had really unique mechanics or gameplay?
I mean, similar, I guess similar to what I said with like Patapon. I could dive a little more into that. I think that game is really interesting because it's a rhythm game, but
Hmm.
it's a rhythm game with Monster Hunter esque grinding and upgrading mechanics. That's like a side scroller, and like there's a lot of really cool PSP games like that. A lot of cool weird mechanic PSP games. I would say, for me, the Patapon series is definitely pretty out there in terms of mechanics.
Hmm.
What about you?
For me, I've got a good one, I think. So Vanquish, actually.
Mhm.
This wasn't too popular of a game, but so the general idea was it was a third person cover shooter, but your character could essentially instantly slide, jump off that slide, and you also had multiple melee attacks, and you had the ability to slow down time. And so I can't remember if this game had like a combo meter or something, but you could do combos that were very similar to like a Devil May Cry game or something like that.
Smokin'. Isn't Vanquish is Vanquish a platinum game?
Uh, not
Platinum's
sure.
games game. Yeah, Platinum
Let me
Games. Yep.
check.
So that yes, people, yeah.
Yeah.
Actual action game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it was really, really fun. I really wish there was a sequel. Um,
From the director Shinji Mikami of Resident Evil.
but yeah, I don't know, just like really good uh interweaving between like melee and shooting combat, which
Hey, if you, yeah,
isn't very good most of the time.
I if you liked Vanquish, you should play Bayonetta 1 through 3 and or any other Platinum game. Or, yeah, like Devil May Cry 5
Yeah.
or something like that. Alright. I've been Matt, aka Matt Fondude. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at Matt Fondude. I'll be there doing what I do.
Yep. And I have been James, aka James04E. You can also find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. I'll be there, maybe doing what I do sometimes.
Alright, I'll catch you at the KFC checkout line. Goodbye, everybody.